Good afternoon. When I met David Owens a year ago, as I was a guest speaker with Lisa Scott in Toronto at Distripress in my hometown, I could never have expected to have been invited here to speak with you today, so I'm quite delighted and thank you very much. Also quite a coincidence that the nice green bags and I happen to choose green today, so there you go. Thank you, David, for that. So good afternoon. Our industry is a lot of things, exciting, vibrant, and from what I've heard today, quite frightening. On that note, we are here today to discuss retail excellence. Despite our the challenges everyone here in this room faces today, we all have excellence to share. So I'm going to share a little bit of my own. I'm going to first give you the Reader's Digest. Does everyone here know Reader's Digest? So the Reader's Digest version of the Gateway Newstands story. Gateway Newstands was established in 1983, and we currently operate approximately 450 franchise locations in major Canadian and US cities. We operate several different venues: malls, offices, transportation, hotels, and hospitals. We also operate non-press divisions, our food service locations, as well as lotto booths. We are very different from the typical press retailer, let me describe. We are 100% franchise versus corporate ownership. We have a strong but very small head office staff and district managers who support our franchisees. Our corporate office secures and holds all of the leases, designs and builds and sells all of the stores to franchisees, and provides the support for all of the franchisees via our field management personnel. We have several different store formats. We have what we call our urban retail division, urban retail. And these are our malls, offices, hotels, and new to the mix, hospitals. These are some typical stores in the Toronto area. Our next group of stores are our flagship stores. And these are quite new to what we do. Uh-oh, I went back instead of next. Flagship stores. We have had quite an exciting year of growth at Gateway. We just acquired 27 LS Travel stores in May of 2014. So since I met David and his team last year in Toronto, we have experienced some incredible growth. These are large magazine locations, unlike the very small stores that we generally operate. And the good news for me and most of the people in this room is for the first time I have some rather extensive international press sections within these large magazine destination locations. Another good news for us in Toronto is many of our competitors are closing their large format magazine destination locations. To name a few, Chapters Indigo have closed several stores. So this is now driving people to these new stores, which of course is music to the ears of the owners of my company who just purchased these stores. We quickly put our Gateway stamp on the new stores that we purchased from LS Travel. These are just two of the ones that we purchased: BCE Place in Toronto and Yonge and St. Clair. After hearing some of the stories this morning in various presentations, I've decided to just stop for a moment and share a story from one of my own experiences in the transition of the store on your left, BCE Place. I was given the task of completely revamping this store when we took it over. And in doing so, I spent the better part of a week, 5 to 7 days, tearing the store apart. Not that LS left us a bad store, it was an excellent store, but we wanted to put our stamp on it. In addition, we did lose some space to coolers. A total of 15 feet of magazine space went to the other category. But what I learned in my time setting up this store was a couple of very important things, and that is people still want magazines, and they still want a destination location to find them. I'll tell you a quick story. We had just set up a complete end aisle for all the World Cup magazines that had just come in May. And I watched a man, we call them the suits because we're in a big business tower, come in. And he studied the section that we had just set up 20 minutes prior. And then he just picked up one after another, after another, after another of these very high-priced, mainly UK publications coming in for World Cup. His price tag at the end of the day, his basket as we call it, was just over $100. So people still want print. I watched another woman also go through the entire store and bought about 8 magazines. And when I asked her what she was doing, she said, "It's the weekend to open our cottage. It's going to rain. We remain unplugged at the cottage. Therefore, I'm reading magazines." So these are 2 stories that I felt worthy of sharing based on this morning's discussions. Transportation is at the core of our business. We are the exclusive press retailer in approximately 75 locations in the underground. Now, I watched Matt Bean's presentation this morning from Entertainment Weekly, and he showed that picture of the old newsstand, and I thought, oh my goodness, we still operate these stores. If you look at the store on your right, that's very typical of our underground stores. The one on the left is one of our larger walk-in stores. But those small newsstands, I assure you, still do exist. Union Station. This is what we call the jewel of our crown at Gateway. We're thrilled to have it. Unfortunately, it's currently under renovation, and we may be losing it sooner rather than later. But right now, over 1 million commuters daily go through and buy this store. And they're all racing for trains, but invariably many of them stop to purchase a magazine. And as you can see by the display at the front of the store, we still sell quite a few newspapers here. In only 900 square feet, we move product from all categories. And I'm very happy to report that despite the decline of press, it is still the #1 sales and revenue generator. So what makes Gateway unique? Well, our system nurtures a strong partnership with our franchisees. Our merchandising program is completely the cornerstone of our success. Every bit of NRI, non-retail income that we generate, we completely share this with our franchisees. We also give them checks twice per year to give them the incentive to be compliant with all of our programs. We're not perfect, and compliance is not 100%, and I would never tell anyone it is. But non-compliance in our stores will result in immediate loss of income for our franchisees. Ongoing non-compliance will lead to the potential loss of that franchise. So that is their investment, and none of them are going to play with that. So I mentioned that one of the sources of revenue for our franchisees is promotional programs. We offer a wide range of press promotion programs, including pockets, signage, and end caps. Now, I thought it was Women's Weekly, but it's Women's Home on that particular slide. I thought I had one for from our presenter this morning. The majority of press retailers do exactly what we do, but we like to think we're a little bit unique in how we package our programs and layer them and bring them alive in the store, because that's really the key to what we're doing. We're trying to bring a magazine alive. So what we do is we layer a program together. This happens to be our fall fashion promotion, and we bring together 4 of the top fall fashion magazines in displays with eye-catching signage. This also includes digital media in the stores as well. And we also include print advertising, and I'll tell you a little bit more about our partnership with the Metro Free Daily later. So we're here to focus on retail excellence, and what better way to do that than to share a few success stories. Now, they're getting harder to find, but we still have them. So even in these challenging times, we find some good news to share. I'm going to focus on 4 particular items: new title launches, publisher combination programs, anniversary celebrations, and something a little bit unique to Gateway, some strategic lobby programs. The newest Canadian launch is a magazine called Ricardo. Now, this is pretty current. It went on sale 2 weeks ago. Building on a phenomenal success in the Quebec marketplace, Ricardo is a personality in Quebec, second to none. But he had tremendous success with his French language version of Ricardo. So he's brought it into the rest of Canada with an English language edition. With the consultant who managed this publication, we built a multi-layered program with signage and pockets and advertising and digital signs in the stores. I mentioned earlier Metro. I know it's a worldwide brand that you would be familiar with. Gateway, being the exclusive retailer in the underground, has a very strong partnership with Metro Free Daily. We distribute about 100,000 copies per day in the underground. And with that relationship, we also get some contra advertising. So we're able to layer that in with some of our publishing partners, our promotion partners. So, promotions that worked. We all love the good life. Samir had this up on his slide as well. Dr. Oz, North America's guru on health and wellness, transitioned from television to print earlier this year. Once again, we created some tremendous in-store buzz with signage, pockets, you name it, we had it going. And the results. In a time when launching a new magazine would be considered a gamble, the premier issue did extremely well. Retailers everywhere love new title launches, especially when publishers are committed to investing in an effective newsstand launch. And I also want to mention here today that Gateway is a very small operation. The stores, we're not very sophisticated with technology, so all of the data that we use comes from Gil Brechtel and his team at Magnet. So we're delighted to have that information available to us. By the way, we could have used a few more copies because 20% of our stores at the end of the day completely sold out. And I hear there were more copies available, but we didn't get any, unfortunately. But there's even better news. We were talking about whether sales are sustained in one of our groups earlier this morning. And the good news is at Gateway, Dr. Oz actually did better on the second issue with more copies than we did with the first issue, with a 22% increase in sale. Now, I haven't looked at what's happening since, but I think it's still holding its own. We work closely with publishers. Whatever ideas they bring to us, we're happy to work with. This was a great themed promotion that HGTV and Food Network did with us via Hearst magazines. The party theme was in signage and displays in all of our stores in Toronto as well as New York. The third illustration of retail excellence involves another party. Chatelaine magazine, one of Canada's, well, it is Canada's #1 women's service magazine, celebrated 85 years, and we'll call it young. And they engaged with the consumer in our stores via a very vibrant in-store signage program. This is just one sign that appeared. We had floor decals, we had maxi marquees, we had digital screens, and of course an ad in the Metro Free Daily newspaper. And the results? It clearly shows that even a mature magazine can benefit from being promoted at retail. So we took a title that's been around for 85 years, we raised the dealers, we raised the draw, and we raised the sale. My final success story revolves around geography. I know you're wondering, how can that, what do you mean geography? Well, Gateway has been very successful in securing some very important addresses. Many tenants will seek us out to develop a strategic partnership with Gateway in these important lobby stores. The Fox News building in New York is just one of these locations. I just shot that picture last week. I thought it was quite neat to get the building going up. In our store, we run Fox screens all around the store, and that's a partnership that we have with them. Also in New York, we operate the very small, and I do say small, but bustling newsstand in Chelsea Market in New York. the home of the Food Network magazine, or the Food Network itself. So we have a partnership with them as well that includes both signage and pocket programs. And we're in about our third year, going into our fourth, and they've assured me they are renewing. So how do we survive? Because survival is getting tougher and tougher. Well, the only way to survive as a retailer is through diversification. And at Gateway, we've come up with three key ways that we are choosing to move forward and to change in hopes of surviving. We've created new division, we've developed some new strategic partnerships, and we've launched a new medium in the stores. A little bit more on this. Our newest division is Gateway Direct Media. It began in January of this year, and we distribute over 25 free publications. These are concentrated in the transportation locations I referred to earlier, the underground, the subway, where we have about 70, 75 stores. This particular program includes the distribution of the 100,000 Metro free daily newspapers into the stores. Now, the important point to note about this particular program is I'm in the process of having a new fixture designed for the underground, and it's not going to be good news for this room. Unfortunately, we are moving forward with a completely free fixture. Our paid newspapers will no longer be on our fixture in these stores. I had a battle in my hands, and I didn't win it, and unfortunately, we have to go where the revenue is. And these free publications are paying considerable amounts of money to be in our stores because of the high traffic. Now, it's not to say we won't carry paid newspapers, but with the slow decline in their sales, it's very hard for us to justify primary space for the 4 primary free dailies in the Toronto market. But I am working to get some kind of space so we can still continue to sell them. You might look at this and say, are you crazy? Why would you be giving away publications? Well, the reality is these publications, especially the Metro Free Daily, which we've had in our stores since they launched in Toronto in the year 2000, they're incredible magnets to our stores. So while it might be considered suicide by some to have free in a print world where we're trying to sell it, it really is bringing people into our stores. And when they come to our stores, they buy other things. And I've watched it, I've observed it, because I believe in being in touch at the store level and see the customers actually picking up their free Metro Daily and buying something else, and oftentimes that will be a magazine. We have some new strategic partnerships that also create some new revenue streams for us. Public Mobile is a phone company in Canada, and we did a complete co-branding with them with our signage, our external fascia signage. And we also sold telephones. I don't know if you know of Bitcoin here. I think it's a worldwide phenomenon. But we have just created a new partnership with Bitcoin and the Canadian company that's marketing them to put some machines in some select stores. Now, don't ask me any more about Bitcoin. I just know it's a new currency that I'm probably too old to understand. And finally, the new medium, which is really not that new after all, because many retailers have digital screens in their stores, but it is relatively new. We operate 70 digital screens, primarily in our transportation locations. And we really do believe that digital versus print signs is the future. The cost of printing those signs and shipping them out to the stores and getting a rep to put them up, it disappears when in just the flick of a button we can have that digital screen up and running in literally minutes. If a mistake is made on a poster, you're done. You got to reprint. If a mistake is made on digital, you fix it, and you're up and running another 5 minutes later. So it's cheaper, and the turnaround is extremely quick. It's also great at driving awareness at the store level. And I do hundreds and hundreds of these every week and month, so I've just brought a few examples to show you some of the partnerships that we have, not just with magazines, a rebranding for Hello Magazine last month in Toronto, HGTV, as well as we do some Warner Brothers advertising for movies, which I hear are not dead. I heard that earlier. They're not dead. So at Gateway, we take tremendous pride in our successes. So what I'd like to do now is just turn for a moment to our competition, because there are lots of other stores in Canada that sell magazines. So this is a little bit delicate, but I'm going to go forward anyways. There's some retailers in Canada that are not making it very easy for newsstand operators such as Gateway. So the competitive landscape, and I'm going to scoot by this really quick because I really don't want you to know who it is. But it's really hard to compete with deals like this. When a large Canadian retailer bundles magazines and discounts them to this point. I've actually gone and shopped that rack, and I was able to buy over $30 worth of magazines for $10. So it's kind of hard for me to compete with that. The same retailer has, through contract publishing, has a beautiful in-store magazine that is 100% free. And I know what you're thinking. Well, you just told us you did free. And we do free. But our free is not a magazine like this. They're primarily condo guides and listings and city books with what's happening in the city. It's not a full 100-page magazine. Now, I know you may not believe this, but the next slide is not staged. This is where this magazine ended up after I didn't do this, but I walked out to my car, and this magazine that was free was lying on the ground. And the question I leave with you is, would this happen with a just purchase copy of Cosmo or People or any other paid magazine? But somebody who'd picked this up in the store for free decided it wasn't worth taking home, and that's where it ended up. So what does the future hold? And this is what I'd like to leave you with. I think the reality is, and we've heard it here today already, no one really knows what the future holds. I don't, and I won't pretend to tell you I do. But in Canada, as well as in the United States, we have a whole new mountain to climb, and we all have been talking about it today, and that's digital. I'd like to share with you an advertisement that's being played all over all over Canadian televisions to promote digital magazines. Do I hit it, or do they hit it?
I think they did.
Okay. I did that. Next.
Excuse me.
Last month,
Sorry.
Jason found his love of magazines was making his commute unmanageable. Introducing Next Issue, a new and convenient way to enjoy unlimited access to over 100 of the world's best magazines. Sign up at nextissue.ca and start your free trial. You're going to love it.
Okay, so I chose that ad because it's taken in a subway train, and if you remember earlier I said we operate 70 stores right there. So it's kind of scary for me to see that digital is being promoted to improve someone's ride on the subway. So instead of shopping at my store, they're going to have their tablet. So in closing, I'm just going to leave you with a few comments. I believe that print is both alive and valued. We have some of the greatest creative minds behind our category. And in this room is a cross-section of dedicated circulation professionals from around the world. I am very honored to be here to speak to you today. Thank you.